Today's video is a continuation of my previous video I did on the theory of production. A theory of production. So today we are continuing the video and then we'll be looking at stages of production. Now with the stages of production, we have 3 stages of production. We have that of the first stage, the second stage, and then the third stage. So it means we have 3 stages of production. So I'm going to take you through them one after the other. Now that is the diagram for the stages of production. We have the stage 1, the stage 2, and then the stage 3. Now in the exam, if you're asked to describe the stages of production or describe any of the stages of production, the first thing you need to know is where does a stage start from and where it ends. And then the name of the stage, and then why it will be either economical or uneconomical for a producer to stop production or continue with the production. So you are going to look at these 3 things for you to be able to explain the 3 stages of production. So we take the first stage of production, that is stage 1. Now this stage starts from where production is 0 or from the origin to where average product is at its maximum or where the average product meets with the marginal product. So let's look at the diagram. You realize that from where production it's 0 or the origin to where the average product it's maximized. Where the average product is maximized or it meets with the marginal product. That is the starting point and then the end point of stage 1. So it begins from the origin and then ends at where the average product it's at its maximum, and then that of the meeting point of the average product and the marginal product. Now with the stage 1, that is where the fixed factor it's more than the variable factor. So fixed factor, example land, it's more than the variable factor, which is labor. Therefore, any additional labor employed adds more to output than to cost. All that we are saying is that with stage 1, it will be uneconomical for a producer to stop production. Why? Because there is more room for what improvement. In other words, the fixed factor, as I said, which is land, you have more land available. So all that you need to do to increase your production is you need to employ more of the variable factor, which is labor. It will be, as I said, uneconomical or not reasonable, stopping production in stage 1. Now, the name given to stage 1, it's known as the uneconomical stage of production or the irrational stage of production. Now, it is given, this name is given to stage 1 because with stage 1, as I said, it has more of the fixed factor than the variable factor. In other words, the marginal product of the variable factor is negative at this stage. So it is known as the uneconomical stage of production or the irrational stage of production. So if you are a producer, you don't have to stop production in stage 1, but you rather have to continue production. Now let's move to stage 2. Now with stage 2, it also starts from where the marginal product meets with the average product and then ends at where the marginal product is 0 or the total product it's at its maximum. So let's go to the diagram. Looking at the diagram here, this is the starting point of stage 2. That is where it begins from the meeting point of the average product and that of the marginal product, and then ends at where, as I said, the marginal product is 0 or the total product is at its maximum. Now with stage 2, it is known as the economical or rational stage of production. This is because the fixed factor, which is land, is exactly equal to the variable factor, which is labor. And then the two inputs are all positive in terms of the fixed factor and then the variable factor, they are positive. Also, this is a stage where the marginal cost of production is equal to the marginal revenue. Remember I said with the stage 2, we have equal proportion of fixed factor and then that of the variable factor. And then the same stage, we have the total product being at a maximum height. Therefore, we have what? The marginal cost of production being equal to the marginal revenue. Now, let's note something here. It is rational for a producer to end production at this stage. This is because any additional unit produced becomes unprofitable or will lead to an increase in marginal cost. Now let's go back to the diagram. Now I realize that at this stage of production, where we have the total product at its maximum and then the marginal product is also negative. So if you're a rational producer and then you don't end production at this stage, you will be having a falling total product, or the marginal product will be in the negative zone. So it is rational for the producer to end production at stage 2. Then we move to the final stage, which is stage 3. Now, this stage also begins from where the marginal product is 0 or the average product is at its maximum. This stage is characterized by a falling total product and an average product, while the marginal product is already in the negative zone. So let's go back to our diagram. So this is it. This is the starting point of stage 3. That is where the marginal product is 0 or the total product is at its maximum. And then, as I said, it is characterized by a falling total product, a falling average product, and then that of the marginal product is already negative. So that is the stage 3. Now we look at the name given to stage 3. Stage 3 is also known as the uneconomic stage of production or the irrational stage of production. This is because the marginal product of the variable factor, which is land, it's already negative. And so any additional unit of the variable factor employed will cause the total product and then the sale revenue to decrease. So we are saying that since this stage is also known as the irrational stage of production, the producer shouldn't produce in stage 3. Why? Because we already have a falling average product, a falling total product, and also the marginal product is what? Negative. So this is a stage where no producer should produce. Now we move to production in the long run. Production in the long run. Now in the long run, both the variable input and then the fixed input are all varying or changing. Remember in my previous video I said in the theory of production we have two main theories. We have the short run production theory and then the long run production theory. So this is the long run production theory. Now in the short run production theory we said the fixed input, it's fixed, or capital is fixed, while it is labor which varies. But then in the long run production theory, since the time period it's very long, we have all inputs varying or changing. So we don't have any fixed input in the long run. Now the law under the long run, it's known as return to scale. In the short run, we had return to factor. So let's see what return to scale is. This refers to a long run production condition in which a change in input, we are talking about that of the capital and labor, results in change in output. So a change in input will result in a change in output, that is return to scale. Now we have types of return to scale. The first one is known as the increasing return to scale. Then the second, we have constant return to scale. Then lastly, we have decreasing return to scale. So we have three types of return to scale. Now let's see that of the increasing return to scale. This refers to a long-run production theory in which an equal increase in the level of input, the input we are referring to that of the capital and then labor, leads to a more than proportionate increase in the level of output. So we are stressing on an equal increase in input, leading to a more than proportionate increase in the level of output. So the more than proportionate increase in output as a result of the change in input is what is known as the increasing return to scale. For example, if input increases by 10% and output increases by 40%, then there will be an increasing return to scale. Now, let me explain this using a table. Realize that we have the first column, which is capital, the second, which is labor, and then that of the total product. The total product happens to be the output, whilst the input are the capital and then the labor. Now, the second row, we have capital being 8, and then labor is 20, which is giving us a total product or an output of 100. Now, the capital further increases from 8 to 16, whilst labor also increases or changes from 20 to 50, which is giving us a double or a more than proportionate increase in total product from 100 to 300. Then lastly, we have the capital also increasing again from 16 to 24, and that of labor from 40 to 60. Then we have another double increase in the total product or the output from 300 to 600. So you realize that the first increase is from 100 to 300. The difference we have what 200. Then the second change or increase, that is 300 to 600, difference of 300. So we have 200 and then 300 difference. So you realize that a change or an increase in input, it's leading to a more than proportionate increase in the output. So we look at that of the constant return to scale. So as the name suggests, constant return to scale. This refers to a long-run production period in which an equal increase in the level of input leads to the same proportionate increase in the level of output. So I'm stressing on the same proportionate increase in the level of output. We are talking about constant return to scale. So as I said, it is a long-run production period in which an equal increase in both capital and then labor will lead to the same proportionate increase in the level of output. An example is if an input increased by 20% and output also increases by 20%, then there is constant return to scale. So let me explain this using a table. Now on the table, we have capital, labor, total product, as I said, is the same as the output. Now with the capital, the first we have 8 and then labor 20, total product, which is output at 100. Then the capital increases from 8 to 16 with an increase in labor from 20 to 40. Then we have an output increasing from 100 to 200, meaning that we have an increase of 100. Then when capital further increases from 16 to 24, labor from 40 to 60, we have the total output also increasing constantly from 200 to 300. So we realize that when both inputs are increasing, the output will also be increasing, but then at a constant rate. That is the constant return to scale. Then we look at that of the decreasing return to scale. So as the name suggests, decreasing return to scale, it refers to a long run production period in which an equal increase in input leads to a less than proportionate increase in output. So we have what? A less than proportionate increase in output. The output is increasing, but then it is increasing at a less than proportionate rate. Example, if input increases by 15% and then output increases by 10%, then there is increasing return to scale. Decreasing return to scale. So let's look at the table. So with the table, capital is 8, labor 20, total product at 100. Then when capital further increases from 8 to 16 with labor 20 to 40, the output will increase from 100 to 160. Then when capital further increases again from 16 to 24, labor from 40 to 60, the total output will increase from 160 to 200. So realize that the difference between 100 and then 160, we have 60. And that of 160 to 200, we have 40. So realize that although the total product is increasing, it will be increasing at a decreasing rate, or it's increasing at a lesser rate. So you realize that the increasing was from 60 and then it decreased to what, 40. So it is increasing, but then the rate at which it's increasing falls. That is the decreasing return to scale.